Really?
And welcome back to our second session of High Vibe Channeling for October 16th. That's going to be me, Ray Heitman, with the Inner Earth beings coming in, which are one of Heidi's favorites and mine as well. So I'm going to let them come in, and I I know some of what they wish to talk about, but we're going to let them explain it themselves. And we truly appreciate these opportunities to come before you in these ways and energetically, in other ways, to share more of ourselves and to make ourselves more comfortable in your minds, in your experiences. For that is indeed important and a step towards the eventual understandings and more direct connections with you, which your senses can more readily absorb. For indeed, if we appeared before you now, many hearts would stop, and not just from the vibrations, but you have been conditioned as part of your world, as part of your upbringing, that things which do not look like you are startling. And those types of emotions can cascade into fears because there is so much unknown, and your bodies will react to those vibrations, even knowing that they are coming. They will not be equipped with the equipment and processes and chemical reactions which you have to handle those sorts of vibrations. Your body will still do what it believes is best to protect you. But the mind has a mind of its own, as you all know. So we will continue with these interactions in these ways and through other individuals, for it is indeed the love and the support which we have to share, which is more important than the vision of what our appearance may be or be interpreted like in your experience. Even amongst some of your animals, our appearance would be a stranger vibration, as though we are in touch and part of your natural world. It is more of an underpinning of loving support than an actual physical role within it. For there are many of our kind and many comings and goings. And should humankind eventually develop the technology to detect those comings and goings and those various being emanations and vibrations, by that time we will have been accepted. And it is up to us if we wish to allow that awareness to continue in that form or even to occur. For we have ways of evading such, we don't wish to say primitive, but such unlearned attempts at learning more about your planet. But if you go about it using your 3D senses, then of course, that is what you will find. More 3D results and 4D questions and spirit questions. And those are the most important things which you will locate and uncover with your 3D devices. It is not the data which comes from it. It is not the quest for further refinements or additional ways of perception. It is the thought process that there is more out there, but it is guided or constrained into following along the same patterns along your and among your scientific communities. For they indeed need to close the books, put the electronics down, and then do their searches, do their research. And those answers, if they are open, which a significant number are not, they will get those hints. They will feel and they will be given information and they will have the choice of bringing it forth to their comrades, even though they have no scientific basis or cannot tell them where the references or resources that that information came from reside. But those are taking a greater hold on all humans. The truths of your reality is becoming clearer. And even those who deny it, who deny the existence of other beings, who deny the consciousness of everything in their experience, they are some of the ones who are lashing out for that confusion, that uneasiness that they feel in their heart and their mind and their body. They attribute those energies to 3D happenings and to things outside of themselves, not realizing at a deeper level that those things are meant for them, but it is their choice to ignore, as it is for those who venture out in the coldest temperatures and deny the comforts of gloves or coats or things to protect them. We honor those choices, and we honor deeply in our most beneficial and heartfelt ways your choices to be here with us, to share in this mission of expansion and growth, which humanity has undertaken many times before, but has failed to fulfill the hearts of enough individuals to get them to the realization that love is, and love is everything. There are many who even doubt the existence of such love. Even though they have felt it, they have denied it. They have attributed it to other things, perhaps. But if they do not believe they are worthy, or that the source which they attribute it to cannot provide that, then you can see that it dampens that experience. And that is their role. That is the choice which they have taken. That is the path and the creative measures which their soul, their higher realm, has provided for them to progress in loving ways, which is also a choice. But it is not a choice not to love. It is merely the expression which gets distorted. For indeed, every individual, every consciousness on your planet acts out of love. That is a hard lesson for many to wrap your head around, because, and it is a glorious thing that many of you are unable to understand that type of thinking. That is because you have kept that pure heart. that that is not only not an option for you, but that you are so far beyond it, you cannot understand what would drive people to think that that is an act of love. But do not judge, for indeed, your birth ancestry, your descendants, have been planned in your ways well in advance, as ours have. And we are many beings. When the phrase inner earth beings comes in, know that all is still an illusion and that label is for your benefit. And do we reside in Mother Earth? As you do. Yes, she is part of us. She is part of you. We are within her and without and are her as you are. That is why you are here in this expression of consciousness. You have come through her. You have come to her. You have let her nourish you into your physical existence with the help of many other energies and beings. And we also wish to touch base with you upon your energetic grids. Please understand that your 3D terminology for that is highly inadequate for the actual structures of these energies. It is not cube upon cube where different points where they intersect become formational of a grid like graph paper. But these energies are flowing like a lotus. Some are toruses. Some have their own shape and form, and all are conscious on their own and have their own dreams and fulfillment. But those energies run through the consciousness, they support the consciousness. That is a mixing of the energies. And there are places of concentrations which are affected by what humanity does on the surface and their penetrations below it. But no, they cannot extinguish that fire. It is not for them to harm. It merely cannot serve as it was intended, as you cannot serve as you were intended if other things come in between you and your desires. Now, that is more of a 3D expression. But when you hear energy grid, and we urge humans to come up with a different term which serves, but do not think of hard lines. Do not think of intersections. Think of your Fibonacci sequences. Think of your lotus energies. Think of your prayerful energies and the form which they take in your mind, for that indeed is going to be supportive and part of the energy of all that is expressed in your realm. And understand that in these times, your plants, your trees, have become energized with even more collective consciousness. Not that they were not ever at their fulfillment and their best in their creation, but as you get stronger by exercising your body and it gives it greater stamina, those energies which you imbue within it help and those energies which are coming forth and coming into and assisting those loving energies of your plants and your trees are enabling them to reach out for their emanations, extend further. And you may come into contact and it may resonate with you. And when it does, feel that, search for that source. And if there are many opportunities, that is a greater opportunity for you, for it may be a group or an opportunity for you to utilize your discernment of your heart and ask those beings, love those beings, and find out what they have to support you. And know that the answers that they give you will be received. They may not come into your mind as this vocalization will. And it may take some time for those resonant energies, that love energies, to sink in to your reality. So your answers will come, but these things will not be hurried. That is not our way. That is not the way of Mother Earth. And that is really who we serve. For she is indeed our mother as well, even if we have not been birthed within her in this way as you have been. But our energies are with her. And that is where we identify. For that is our role in this experience, in this guise, in this realm. And we have others in others as you do. Many, many more. More than would ever fit in your human anatomy. But that is part of the wonder. For you can indeed reach out to touch some of those, which is a miracle in itself and a gift of remembering, which is also one of our roles to help you remember more of you. For indeed, we are all you. You are within us. It is all one. So learning to accept all and to feel that wholeness of the oneness, that common core of love, which is prevalent in our being, which is your being. And we could go on about your skies, which are energetic as well, and full of beings and processes and other forms of consciousness which escape your attention. For it is those things which are invisible which impact you more than those things which you see. But we shall leave that for another time and ask for you what is on your minds. What can we do to assist you to grow or to learn, which is the same thing.
Christiana.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for your company and knowledge. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
I was I was very fortunate last week to be inside the cave. And going in, I sort of, well, the way I perceived it, I rang the bell. And then I went in, bringing my energy and a lot of love and joy for being closer inside the earth. And with me only having more of a 3D perspective and understanding, would you like to add to that more expanded one from your side, please?
Do not deny that you felt other beings with you, for indeed they were looking over your shoulder, and they were part of the reason why there were some chills which others may not have felt. For you used the term 3D, but that was not a 3D experience for you, for that was only your body having that 3D experience. And you went into that cave, those openings of your reality, as we can refer to them as, knowing that you were led there, and that attributed to the energetic flow which you received and which you helped create and maintain. And yes, as with your learning, there is always something deeper within the caves, even if they physically end. That is why so many of your ancestors, we will say, flocked to them, because there is a deeper understanding, and not just in a literal way, in a in your terms of just using words. It is because there were energies and connections there which were more easily received. And there is a clarity, a peace of mind which can come from those. And in that darkness, where sight is removed from possibility and sound is only of the breath or the creatures which reside there, you can find that stillness within which shall release and open understanding to you in ways which are more felt than come to you telepathically. Those and the fires which are within them were sacred fires. There are many who just determine that those were for warmth, neglecting that the special woods which were used and how they were procured, and that the embers from them were worshipped, and the pieces of wood and ashes which were used in ceremonies and in paintings, and in there were medicines which were assisted, and at times cooking, of course, but that was not the purpose for those ceremonial fires. Those were to touch base with the innate portions of those beings. And those energies are reflected on the walls of them and imbue those surfaces. You can be aware of those and feel that magic. And now you can attribute that to the energies which still reside there, for all of those ceremonial fires, as all of them never go out. It only fades in your linear time. They are all connected. They are all one fire, as all water is one water. It is just the divisions which are, we do not wish to say that they are not real in your terms, but they are created for your experience, but do not exist in that form as nothing in your reality truly exists in the form in which you perceive it. And we hope that that has been an opening for you as well as the cave.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Miles, please.
So recently, I've been connecting in a very deep way, a very energetic, emotional, powerful way with mountains, which is a new experience for me, but one I'm enjoying enormously. My question has to do with when I hear inner earth, of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is something inside the earth, but I realize that that's ridiculous. So, where you are is some vibrational place. Can you give me any pointers or cues how to get to that vibrational place in order to connect with your energy?
And we have great joy in telling you the answer which you all know. Yes, that place is where you are. For it is indeed your energy. And understand that you are connecting with a group consciousness as well as the mountain. And while your thoughts may have some solid understanding of the grasp and enormity, the immensity of energies contained within it, it is still a 3D reality which overlays that. So when you connect with those mountains, it will behoove all of you, as with all connections, to understand you are connecting with spirit energies. You are connecting with frequencies, taking that form, and you are not connecting with that form, as that energy is not connecting with your form. It is connecting with your spirit, and you are interpreting it in this way. And that may be a fine distinction, but it is one which serves you. For it allows for a deeper understanding without that static of having those 3D overlays to block some of that true resonance or truer resonance of that being, of that consciousness. The same with your water. The same with the fire, with the wind, with the creatures, with the stars in the heavens. Once you view and understand in a innate way and create patterns to connect directly with the energy and not the form, which is what you will do anyway, but do this in a more conscious way, will help serve you and serve that energy as well. As think of it as a loving embrace between two energies. And with those 3D connotations, there is something sticking in your pocket which prevents you from getting as close as you would like. And without those connotations, you get a fuller feeling of that love expression.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, my wife connects with the inner dimensions as
One
well.
moment, please. We like to say that you are wonderful as well. And that lesson is a wonderful reminder which you have brought forth for your and other purpose. For many of the questions that you have are for a greater overall audience. And please continue about your wife.
She connects with an inner earth group and has a friend there that she connects with. And they've told her that there are other inner earth dimensions as well. They said there were 3 at least connected with Gaia.
It is all connected. And there are many different dimensions in, on, and around your planet. For your planet has many alliterations depending on the viewpoint of which it is experienced. And the number 3 has a special meaning in earth-related things, which is why many of your masters have established that repetition of 3s carries an even greater energetic reality, an energetic absorption, an energetic informational containment than some others. And as true, or it is more true in your reality than people understand, that those things which are in 3s are a more divine expression. Your religious books in some ways picked up on that with the past, present, and future when it is all one. But the expression in 3 is part of that divine expression. Whereas you will find that the duality, things which have divisions, which are not arbitrary, but seem real in your experience for that experience, are more connotations derived from the mind of humans and 3D beings. You have days and nights. You have, well, we will let you go with your own examples. And there are exceptions, as there are no limits. But we urge you and your wife to congratulate yourselves on being open to receiving those messages. And as for numbers of dimensions or realities within or without, those are irrelevant. But we understand the significance, for it is patterned into your reality. And that is part of the patterns which you are changing, which you came here to change, which you came here to cast light upon, so that people and other forms of consciousness can learn that those do not serve and how they may serve better.
I'm very grateful, and I'll defer to others with their questions.
Heidi, please.
Hello.
And we are waiting for your opportunity, for you are interested, but have not requested us to come through. We are willing and you are able, but your head and your bodily form is full of waiting beings, for it is a special brand of light which you bring forth, which you are feeling, which you are uncovering as fast as your reality will allow.
Thank you for
Bless
that.
you. Thank you.
Was that for Miles? I'm sorry. Did I speak too soon? I'm so sorry.
There is no reason to be sorry. And if Miles thinks it is for him, then it is for him.
Okay.
And you can wait for the video or you can ask your heart.
All right. Miles, did you have another question or you're
No, no, I'm
okay.
interested in others' questions.
Okay. All right. I have been over the weekend and this week I've been becoming more aware of Lemurian energy, and I had a question about the land on which they lived, and understanding a connection to that land. Is there anything that you can speak about that land or the energy there, or
You understand that those questions and that impetus comes from a place of purpose. For indeed, it is part of you which shall be returning in the Lemurian form during a later period of open contact. Now, that will not be an interaction with you, but you can seek out and obtain more information, for you already have that connection. That is what it is trying to tell you. That when you have those questions, when you have that nudge in a particular direction, you are at the stage where you are awakening those greater portions of you to integrate them into not only you, but into a greater consciousness of you, for uniting those in through this physicalized or more dense reality, and bringing those energies in casts a great light of transformation on all around you and the Earth Collective as a whole. You are gathering light to shine brighter from many different sources and combining them into something which is quite special in the eyes of many.
I'm not sure what to, seems very profound.
Why, you brought it on. You must be profound. And that goes for all of you. Do not underestimate how great your grandeur is, how wide your consciousness stretches. The depths of your oceans cannot even begin to come to comparing with the depth of your being.
I do feel that that describes myself and this group and the other members of this group. And what you started to say about my having a knowing, the part about connecting with the land of Lemuria came into my question as I was asking it. And so I will take that as a a nudge to connect with the land of Lemuria, because it is still part of the Earth's surface. My understanding, it's still there. It's just, it looks different than it did before. So I think at this point, I think I have something to think about before I have another question. So I'll send it to pass the baton to our next questioner.
Okay,
And
Heidi. I
one
will.
moment, please, if you would. Please understand that your hesitancy is part of your confidence. It is part of believing that you need time to integrate, that you must unwrap slowly at times, when in fact you can view the entire gift at once through the wrapping and enjoy it fully in that capacity. And that is a lesson for all. But those constraints are helpful, for it is indeed your beliefs which are dictating your growth, your experiences, your encounters. And while those are aided and supported by more energies than you know and can feel and can handle, it all serves a unique purpose, for each thought expands all that is anew, which is why you came to love. You came to create love. You came from love to create love. And the ways that you do it is perfect. And I am speaking to humanity as a whole. But do not be hard on yourselves, and listen to those bodies as we know you will. For when you have those rest periods and you push through them, your experience will push back, and sometimes not so subtle ways, as you all have experienced. Mr. Luis.
Heidi, you can ask a question later after Christiana. I'm just going to ask a quick one right now. I was interested in the beings and the things that are in the sky that are not so easy to see. In that direction, I often see these little, they're kind of like speckles movement in movement, but I tend to think of them as really like little tiny worms in the air, the sky, I should say. And some of them are dark or black, and some of them are translucent, but just, I can observe them for a glimpse, just very quickly as soon as you try to focus on them. But there's plenty of them, and I can feel that the whole sky is really full of them. Can you give me some light into that?
Yes, we can, as you can give yourself this light, and all of our answers are brought forth by the questioners. This is not coming from us per se, but it is coming to you from you. And in your particular case, you have identified more with the spirit world, that the world that you experience in 3D does not have all of its energies in your experience. And you fill in those gaps with other energies. And while you are not able to ascertain, as your mind searches for shapes, for things without shapes, and are viewing those energetic resonances in a more truer form outside of their physical illusions, which they may or may not have. You experience them in that way. Know that you are seeing through and not of things. You are letting in more of the non-physical 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 density realities into your experience, but your mental capacity tries to make sense of that when it is not equipped to do so, any more than a bow and arrow can shoot a bullet. Try as you may, those questions are valid and part of your greater growth. And in time, you may be able to conceptualize those in a more agreeable format, which will lead to more understanding and greater knowing of those energies. But that is for you to unravel if you choose, for it is outside of your soul path in ways and just part of your greater ability to view your reality in a less physicalized form. And we hope that that helps.
Yes, indeed.
You are
Chris.
filling in the missing pieces with your mind.
Yes, I could ask a couple more questions, but I'm going to defer to Christiana.
We
Thank you.
appreciate all of the curiosities coming forth.
Hello again.
Mm.
Following my highest excitement and recent experiences in this, I was thinking of the reptilian children that are inside the earth. Because, you know, this group has connections with the hybrid children, but I would also like to bring the views of the reptilian children into our awareness and integration, hopefully.
Understand that you are interpreting those as younger to help ease your mind into accepting them. For the younger beings on your planets are not as fearful. Few fear a baby mountain lion, but when confronted with an adult, it can cause some turmoil and scared emanations, we will say, to that fight or flight instinct. But if you view them as babies, then they are more acceptable and you can squeeze them into your understanding without activating those things, which will in some ways prevent their full resonance from reaching you, or fuller resonance from reaching you. But when you think of baby reptiles, understand that we are energetic expressions which extend far beyond not only your physical world, but your linear world and your lifespans as well. And while we are not saying that there are not young reptiles in your, or reptilians in your way of understanding, nor are we saying that there are, because that is a matter of 3D connotation and perspective. But do trust that that information, that energy was important enough to you that you sought other ways of bringing it in to integrate within you. That is a wonderful gift of taking things which you desire and molding them into a form you know you will accept because you are determined. You are determined to get that information. You are determined to get the understanding that you need, and not just for you, but for you to be of greater service to those around you and those who will come into your life in your linear future. That is a wondrous, open-hearted gift which you are providing. And not taking no for an answer is one of the greatest attributes for you provided you keep it out of the 3D level.
Thank you very much.
Heidi, do you want to ask the final question?
There are no final questions.
I I don't know that I have another question about the Lemurians or the another that I had been tuning into was the sisters, the seven sisters of the stars. And I'm wondering how you perceive or how they perceive you, I guess.
Energetically, for indeed, you are discussing a constellation and viewing it as a more singular object, when indeed it is more varied than the life forms on your planet in ways. For in the Pleiades, as they are known, you are aware of many different stars within them, for there are seven which you consider, but there are other forms of consciousness which are involved in that, which are physicalized in your reality in this realm. Now, again, each of those is a connection waiting to be taken, waiting for their chance to come in and fit their energy within your sphere of knowing. And you will open up the proper slots at the proper times when it is time for that information to flow through. But know that it is always going to be there for you. And again, this is true for all of you. Do not worry, you will not know what to say or what to do, for that creates the reality which you do not. You attract what you worry. That is a beat up reminder for all here. But just having that confidence, that knowing that when someone asks that question, you will be able to respond in a heart-centered manner, which they need. That is where more of the truth and frequency within it can be conveyed, provided the other individual or individuals is open to receiving it. So in your quest about that, there are 100,000 different answers. And if you choose, you can know them all. And that would be quite an experience for you. And in some ways, it would take many yous to fit them all in. But it can be done. For humans, think of, I integrate this being, I can channel this being, I hear these beings, not understanding that there are many other beings which come through you in other guises, in other time frames, in other linear realities, even on Earth. Because if that is your sole mission, to get all of those experiences, then that is what you will do, no matter how many lives it may take. View it as you have a bit of graffiti on a wall, and your goal is to cover it. It does not matter how many coats of paint it takes. You will cover that if it is your desire. And each coat, each brushstroke can be a different life in order to make that happen. For that is the role outside of time that you are all swept up in. And you are unable to view that totality of your being for that express purpose of having those special selections, which can explore them in unique ways on their own in a more individualized, fractal expression. Is there another final question?
There is probably many, but they're not flowing at this moment.
Well, Miss Heidi did not ask the question that she wanted to write down, so we will not address it. And the silent partners know we appreciate you, and you are in rapt attention on many levels. And if you have the impetus, you can come forth. And if you choose not to, another you will. You lose nothing with your silence and with your attention. And we thank you for that and for allowing us to bring that to you as you have requested.
Thank you.
And we shall take our leave and know that while you may think of us as being in the heart of the earth, know that you are the earth and it is your heart which we reside in.
Thank you. That's a beautiful thing to
And,
remember.
and understand that you may continue to talk. It seems that our presence in this bodily form takes a bit to allow him to regain the control which he has so graciously provided.
Take your time. Pray.
You rang. Oh. Oh.
Getting a little worried we were going to get you back there, brother.
No, I mean, the first time they came in, it was almost 3 minutes
Oh,
before. And they mentioned it, they were serious. Go ahead, talk amongst yourself while I'm over here flip-flopping around. Yeah, and that's easier. It gets a little easier every time. So in another 400 sessions, I'll probably just go in and out. But and that was wonderful. Oh my gosh, all of those questions. They're really proud of you guys. Very nice. Boy, Heidi you got a lot to think about, didn't you?
I was like, what? And then I was like, what question was I going to write down? I had about three ideas and I went with one of them.
I think that was, yeah, you need to maybe start making notes or something like that to help you frame those.
Yeah,
Just a suggestion
yeah.
because they were ready to answer, but they're like, she's not gonna ask. She's not gonna ask. So we'll just put the teaser out there.
Heidi,
Hmm?
I'd like to share something with you in one of the teachings talks that Kashima and I had very early on. And it was about the Lemurians. And I was asking him something about something that the grandmothers had told me about DNA and different things. And he had said that the Lemurians were the ones who were working the most with the DNA and helping others to experience what it was they needed to experience for their DNA to change. And so during that time, they basically were working with humanity and um, changing the DNA, basically. And another interesting thing that happened over the years and talking to people everywhere about the Sasquatch people when they have had interactions and something that they would tell me when they were talking about their interactions. And they would say, and he told me he was from Mu. And of course, Mu, and one of them actually said he was a Mu man, meaning he was from Mu, which is Lemuria. And so I'd asked Kashima about that, and he said that, yes, many of his people integrated with the Lemurians and worked together in doing different things.
And and what I got during that question was that the Lemurian counterpart, I don't believe is on this timeline because your physical life is not present when they come back. You do not interact in that way on the same Earth plane. Well, I can't really say the same Earth plane, but um and I'm hoping, well, with this crowd I'm sure it is making sense. So yeah, but I and I don't know what the time frame is, but I know that it's after open contact when the Lemurians return to Earth, or some of them return to Earth in specific locations, as Travis told us before in his channeling.
And
But
some are here and have never left.
and
And yeah, so it's like this whole great big basket of all these different things in it that are just so wonderful.
and they kind of had to tell the Usal to be quiet because they wanted to make a cow joke. And they're like, oh, that's the cow sound. And they're like, we're not going there. We're not going there. But I thought that was funny. And they actually hesitated a little bit. They're like, go away.
Now, Arla, I have a question along those lines. Are there Lemurians here in physical? I know they were very dedicated from the Edgar Casey materials that I read about the Lemurians, very dedicated to the earth and to humanity and the way they lived their lives. In fact, when they decided to leave here, they interbred with um, with primitive peoples, even while they realized that they were not going to be able to survive in that reality, just to get the DNA into the race.
One of the things that I understood from Kashima was that in this, when there was different integrations with the Lemurian people, be it whatever the integration was, because of the difference in vibration and DNA structure. Now, the grandmothers had told me years ago that at one time we carried 52 strands of DNA, but that's not like specifically like the DNA that science has said we have, because there are splits and other things that occur within that. And from what I understood that Kashima said was the Lemurians were working with that as far as trying to help us to, what's the word I want, increase that DNA vibrationally. And that was part of woo,
Part
I'm
of who?
vibrating. And that created a problem where many of them did have to leave here. And some left in an understanding way, and some left in their understanding. And then there were those who did stay here, primarily for a very long time, from what I understand, inside the Earth Mother. And you can think of a physical being, but a physical being is just a representation of this 3D world, basically. And so their energy was still here at that point, that higher vibrational energy. From what I understand, they are, yes, many of them now are walking among humanity, and they also, as the Sasquatch people and others, will be a part of contact, full contact, if
Well, that is
humanity is ready for that. And now that's not to say that there will not be a part of humanity that is ready, but that has been part of the slowdown with the Sasquatch people, because there are so many that want that proof that they exist. We want, science to prove that this exists. And they have to let that go in order to understand in the ways that they exist.
And as soon as
Oh,
you
wow,
said
that
that,
is so helpful to me.
yeah,
Thank you, Arla.
as soon as
You're
you
welcome.
said that, I was told that some of them agreed to stay back in some of the religious temples and structures.
Yes.
And part of that is to maintain portals, which they volunteered to support. And part of it is to maintain the illusion of the temples the way we see them now, because they're still existing in all of their splendor, and there would be certain individuals who might pick up on some of that. So when you look at it, you don't see what it really exists as a 3D representation. You see the 3D representation that you are supposed to see until it is time for you to see something different.
One thing extremely interesting about the Lemurians is built into their DNA was their inability to be aggressive. And one of the reasons why they chose to leave this reality is about 1 in 4 or 5 of their children simply could not exist in this reality because they short circuited around aggression. They could not be aggressive. They built it right into their DNA. And one of the problems is that when you take that to an extreme, taking a breath is actually an act of aggression, just to show you how very deep that can go. So, yeah, really, really, so what Arla had to say really flipped the light switch on. Once we reach a place of 4D where they don't have to be worried about aggression, or 5D for sure, then they'll be comfortable to share their existence with us in a bigger way, I would think.
I wanted to say something too about, because over the weekend they were talking about, how DNA was, there was a channeler that was talking about how the DNA was changed. And I kept thinking, no, it's not 12, it's not 24. It has to relate to 13, because I kept getting that it's 13, there's 13, and 52 is 4 pairs of 13. So that makes so much, that just lines right up with my, so I resonate that because it lines up with my intuition. Not that anybody else is wrong saying 24, but for me it was like, no, it's 13. And time is all about 13. There's 20, there's the 28-day cycle, there's
13 moon cycles, exactly.
Thank you. 13
Yeah.
moon cycles, which is the year. So 12 just doesn't align for me. 13 aligns for me. So I appreciate hearing that part of it too.
That's a very, very powerful perception. My wife and I use the Mayan calendar, which came from Sirius, which is based on 13 28-day months, just to get away from the current calendar we have, which was created to interfere with our ability to connect with In other words, it disempowered us.
Our ability to connect with the universe, including the
Thank you,
earth
Luis. Thank you.
entirely. The same thing as they did with music, which is extremely powerful, of course, by distorting the bass frequencies that they do the compositions from 428, 432, 440. They have used all of that, without.
And all of those are being brought back to light now.
Yeah.
And you see that everywhere, where that frequency of that music now is coming into that place where it always was and always was, but the distortion that was created gave the appearance that it did not exist as it truly does, and that's part of healing.
Yeah.
So what I'm understanding is the restoration of linear time in its proper frequency based on the 13, the calendar that we live in, the planets and is coming through the feminine energy. The being that I felt, that felt very ancient. This was last time when I was having that green kind of light right here, and the name that I got, which this being has been called many names over time, but the name that resonates with the intention at this time came in as Goddess Athena, and because goddess of war, but she wields love. It's not war as you think of. It's not war as you think of in competition and fighting. She just wields love. And this is the energy that's coming in. And it wasn't just through me. It's going to be through many. She will be coming through many, not just like one person. But that's what I got from that experience. And it was so interesting because, and this, I only figured this out after I transcribed it, but she called me an elemental of God. And I was like, as in we are elementals of God. And I was like, that is so strange. I never would have come up with that. And over the weekend, one of the speakers I saw was Dr. Bruce Lipton. I'm sure we're all familiar. Or no, sorry, this was this was Greg. It all kind of melted together. This was Greg Braden's work about the.
It sounds like his field altogether.
Yeah, so he was talking about the elements, the periodic table of elements, and the elements in our DNA coming off of there, and how they talk about God within using a number system, not numerology, but another number system. That when you apply the atomic mass, those numbers, the letters that come out from several, older languages, they spell out basically the meaning of the words is God within us. And I was just so fascinated that days before I had been called by this being an elemental of God. And I was like, oh, and also in that same channeling had come through the Seven Sisters of the Stars. And another speaker there was talking about Easter Island, and she started talking about, the seven statues that face the ocean, and how in their creation story, they're talking about seven sisters from the stars. And, or no, I think they said seven sisters of the stars. And in mine, it came out seven sisters from the stars. And I just started crying because I'm like, oh my goodness, these Pleiadian that I've mentioned, the Pleiadian sisters, or that I keep mentioning over time, that's who, that's that energy that I've been, that has been working with me over this time, and many others, not just me, many others. So those two energies, the energetic war of love, where love is wielded in, so it's all kind of coming together. I'm understanding what's happening now more deeply.
Oh,
So
yay.
yay.
It's profound, and it's a joy to see. And the inner earth beings were purposely vague with your question in order to try to get you to be more specific in asking. Because the way you asked it, and they knew what you were talking about, but they answered for the overall general public to
Yeah.
fill in. They're saying, oh, well, yeah, you say seven, but there's, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different variations that come through there. And they were thinking about all the different timelines and expressions, and
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
because they were saying, well, do we tell them that the Anunnaki went there and they populated several of these things? And, the Greys came in and they had their part in creating different ones. And, it's a melting pot. And the inner earth beings, they were they were considering not telling you that your fascination with the inner earth beings was a reminder to yourself that they are there waiting for you to bring them in. But you had just viewed them as external, and you liked them so much because you associated with that energy from this 3D level that,
Mm.
and you were so busy with other things coming in and integrating that never really got to you. And they're like, we're just going to throw it out there. We're just waiting for you to ask. I mean, they couldn't get much more direct than that. But yeah, but I thought that was kind of thrilling on my end. And thank you for bringing that up again. I had goosebumps all over again because I depend on you guys for your conversations to help bring some of that memory from the channeling back.
Yeah, I was getting a lot from their answers. There was a lot coming through in what they said, and it was all fitting together with my experience, even though they were generalizing it,
Yeah,
you know.
and you're operating at a soul level. I got a picture of like a huge umbrella, and you have all of these beings under your umbrella, and they're all kind of waking up to each other.
Hmm.
And with Miles, it was funny because they're like he gets together with all of the higher selves and decide which questions are best because none of them are for him or for Reba. It's all for a greater service to bring that information out in the open for other people. He is so selfless in doing that. And sometimes he even makes himself forget. And we've all heard him saying, I had forgotten about that. Well, yeah, they blocked that memory so you would just come forth and ask that question again at the right time because that's when it was required. And you're just willing to do all of that. It's just freaking amazing. I wish that you could sense that. I hope you do, Miles, because it there are so many, and I don't want to take away Arla's name about there, but there are so many shining stars in this group. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's just
And
freaking amazing.
I have to say that especially tonight, I noticed what a powerful effect what was channeled had on me, and how glorious it was to be here in this energy. And just another comment going back to what Heidi said about Athena. The I, I don't know how to put it in words because uh, people think of Athena as the god of war, but when she's married to love, it really transcends the old stereotype, because in her hands, love becomes almost infinitely, well, it already is, infinitely more powerful in our reality. And that it's not, some people think of love as passive, but it's not passive at all. And in her hands, it's breathtakingly, you can tell I'm struggling for words, but breathtakingly powerful. And it's so powerful that that war becomes obsolete, because her energy is transcendent. When the energy moves through her, it is a wave that changes what's ever in front of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
I
view
wanted to
that.
share something. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, when she came in and when in that meeting, and I was like, is everybody feeling this? It was as though she was looking through my eyes in that session. It was a Thursday, I don't remember. But I started to look at each person in their little square, in our little square, and there was such love for each individual. And I was like, this is so amazing. And this was her love unconditional love that she felt for each person. And that was such a, you know, wordless, no words. But just so that was so profound to feel that, you know. And interestingly enough, a few days before that, a friend of mine called me out of nowhere. She said she'd been feeling like she needed to call me. She ended up channeling. She didn't think she was going to, but she ended up channeling. She was connecting with someone for me. And she turned to me, she said, she will come. He's saying she will come. What does that mean? And I didn't know. And then a couple days later, that happened in the meeting. That's what that meant. And so, yeah, it was all within a week. And then everything that they told me, or there were things that they told me that were confirmed in the meeting. And then, Arla, you just confirmed the 13 in our DNA. So, yeah, wow. And I feel like everything is just happening so quickly. But then, I'm just talking about my own experience. But yeah, everything is happening so quickly.
Yep. And
what better way to look at never having war is to cover it with love. And that basically, people say, well, how are we going to end these wars? We're going to have to love, and love in a way that Athena has showed that we should love.
Yep. As soon as I heard the word Athena, instantly I had the impression of goddess of love. But it's the love transformation that she is bringing forth. And it doesn't always, when it's viewed from the 3D level, I mean, how can you view those kind of atrocities or volcanic eruptions or whatever it might be? But the effect from the higher levels is all love. It's the manifestation here, which has to work within our beliefs, is what people misinterpret that feeling as, or that energy as. And Miles, we know that you're excited because you're still awake.
Yeah, I'm astounded. Really, I am astounded.
I take the view that all that really exists is love consciousness. But love consciousness has a scheme of making sure that we get into that stream. And so it is actually love consciousness that, in effect, creates the contrast that's necessary so that we open up to truly enter the stream of love, because anything else becomes too painful, too separate. And we have, certainly gone into the path of separation, and war is one of the things that comes from that path. It's a path of feeding the ego, the ego of one individual, the ego of the big landlord, the ego of the owner of the big corporations, the ego of the great leader of, half of the continent or whatever, all of that sort of thing. And those kinds of situations of separation always yield a lot of followers that subscribe to it, because they feel that their way to have their own power situation is by collectively going against anyway. But all of that is contrast. And love consciousness is the one that's behind that contrast, until we get on this stream of love that we need to open to. It's there to open our hearts fully.
One other thing that I wanted to say, because I feel like this is important, is she said, and I'm connecting with you in this way because I trust you with this love, because you're not going to place yourself above it. And I feel like that's very important to understand love in that way. And also, she's also the goddess of wisdom. So if you think about that, the goddess of war and the goddess of wisdom.
And so she's the goddess of love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no bigger wisdom than the wisdom of love. And there's no bigger force than the force of love. It is the stream of consciousness that we're embedded in, except that because we have separated and separated and separated, we have found all these justifications for all this craziness. And we have detached. And now we need, how are we going to be brought, if you're that separated, how are you going to be brought back? Somebody has to use some pretty strong force. And if you look at it, how that's applying in your own life, in your own experience, you'll notice that the force that was needed to crack you in this direction or the other direction was applied. And you may have not yielded right away, but ultimately you did. Otherwise, you would not be who you are today.
And thanks for the great questions, because that really expanded my growth. Like with Luis, there were like, dude, you cannot bring that energy into your physical reality, but you know what you're seeing isn't real. So part of you is searching for what is really the expression there. And they're saying, but that's not the film that you showed up to see. You're trying to see things in other theaters,
When
not
you
just in the
when you
next room.
mentioned that, I had the immediate thought, wait a minute. So I am expanding the original plan. And the question that came right away, how much can I push that? Because the impetus to do exactly that, I have that for sure.
Wonderful. And like with Christina Anna, and thank you, Miles. Appreciate it. And
I
yeah,
was just riding the energy the whole time after I finished it. When you started, I was just in the flow, and there couldn't have been anything come from me that would have remotely sounded like English. So,
and, and it is such a strange energy for me because it is so tangible. It is like right up next to my skin. And it is just so encompassing of the entire environment that I'm in. And I'm thinking it's called inner earth beings, but the expression of it is all exciting and around me, encompassing everything that's here. And I'm like, I feel like I step into their bubble or something like that. And they were just so impressed with Christina Anna as well. And in many different realms, she has put herself in a role of service for the many. And, that is still her focus. That is one of her roles that she has undertaken time and time again. So, kudos to you, Christina. Yeah, and she says, I'm just being me. Well, that's it exactly. You're authentic. And that's what's coming through all of the love for the greater environment and the impacts that you can make.
For
Absolutely.
the record, Arla, I did have a swim for you, and I had a dream that there was a portal, and then I thought, oh, portals, yes, fabulous. And then when I was on the beach, I opened the big portal. It was right where the water begins, and I was thinking you could come through and have a swim because it was so magical, all this, the beach, the sand, it was so beautiful, and all those reflections of the light, through the water. And I'm I was a little bit, sad because I couldn't see it happen, but I so wished for you to come through and have a swim as well.
Oh, I'm sure there was a part of me that was there. I had asked her to swim in the water for me when she was there. And so you connected in, for you. And I have no doubt there was an element of me there in that water.
Golly. What a great group. Oh my gosh. I mean, you can't exactly have these kind of conversations around the dinner table, at least not in my house, especially since I'd be talking to myself or my dog.
Or at work.
Or at work. Well, yeah, I'm a little bit beyond. I just have transitioned into a different work where I don't have a paycheck coming in. I get paid in love substance. So and the benefits are just extraordinary. And you don't need health insurance.
Hey, there's different energies other than that's what I'm looking forward to, the transition into the different energies other than money.
And I think it'd be interesting for all of us to go around and talk about what in their growth at this point has made the greatest impact to them. And for me, it's just been the expansion into even greater and greater fields of information that I can draw from. And like they were talking about, that just came back to me, having that confidence that you will know what to say, you will know what to write. And even if it isn't what you would normally do, it's what that person needs to hear or what they need to feel. And that's more important because a lot of times we get caught up in the 3D, oh, I made that person mad. And you're like, you didn't do anything. You gave them the information they needed to grow, and they can accept it or not. And it's that realization when you have that confidence that you don't care what people think. And if I say something and one person gets driven off, I know another one of them is going to say, "Oh, now I understand." So we don't do all of this for the individuals that we experience in this one limited frame. We do it for the overall purposes of getting those extensions, those fractals experiences that branch off.
You know, Ray, love is a very interesting consciousness. The general notion is that love is smooth and exciting and, you know, peaceful and da 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 da. That's the general notion. But there is such a thing as hard love, and it needs to be applied. So when somebody comes in front of you and they are really soliciting your guidance or your assistance, they giving you the permission to actually say exactly what you see and put it into, you know, the best possible context that you can put it so they can absorb it. You know, you almost read their feel and said, in this particular instance, I should use this kind of way of delivering the message. But you got to deliver the message, basically. And that could be hard. They could interpret it as hard and they may run. Okay. And your the effect of that may be that you don't ever get to see them again. But the real effect of that is that they heard it. They were in that field. And later they'll be able, that's in there somewhere. Later they'll be able to combine it with something else that happens. And the whole thing all of a sudden crystallize. Oh, you know, and they won't associate you maybe at all with how they got there. It doesn't matter. Not meant to be. You applied love to them and they may have interpreted it as something different.
By sparkling. Yeah, and I had an experience like that recently.
Bye, Heidi.
A couple of weeks ago, somebody had a medical issue. And, I said, well, it's fine that you want to go have a CT scan and you want to go to the specialist, but you're a Sethi. How come you're not delving into the energetic cause for this? What is the belief that's causing this to manifest? And she got pissed off. And she said, "Well, no, I'm going to trust my doctors. This is why this is what I'm putting my belief in. So I'm following my beliefs and your beliefs are true for you." And I'm like, "Whoa, I'm just throwing it out there that this is not consistent with what I have known you to be in the past." And then what happens? 2 weeks go by and somebody says, I get the feeling that this is related to some trauma of yours. And then she comes out and she says, this all happened when I got upset that we were downsizing. And that she went along with and she doesn't know this yet, and I don't know if she'll see this, but that she didn't voice her opinion. She went with what everybody else thought they should do in buying this particular house and how they were going to set everything up and who was going to be in it. And she just kept her own personal views out. And because she refused to speak up, she had a medical issue on her throat. But I wasn't going to tell her that because she was not in the frame of mind to receive it. And then when somebody else brought it up and she made that connection, and so now she's going to get the healing that she needs internally. It's just wonderful, but I just did my part, and sometimes I make people mad, and that's okay. I've learned to live with it. And I guess they have too, because I don't believe I've accidentally killed anybody that way.
Well, that's when you have to be reminded of the eternal essence that we are. So nobody's killing anybody in that sense. Okay.
Yep.
In that
We're in
sense.
quarantine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, lovely night, but I'm gonna also have to leave you guys.
Me
yes,
too.
indeed,
Yeah.
it's late.
Me too. I heard that
Yes.
somewhere. Me too.
Yes,
Me
thank
too.
you all.
I am so mellow. I feel like Jello.
You've had a lot come through you, I'm telling you. And there's always room for Jello. So, uh, thank you
Good
all.
night.